Ratcliffe's ditching Nice. What it means for Manchester United's future just got really interesting. According to reports, INEOS, of course, led by Ratcliffe, is exploring a 250 million euro sale of his League One club, OGC Nice. Sir, what are your thoughts about this news breaking over the wire?
Look, Ratcliffe's ditching his other football club he owns. Look, Ineos did invest quite a bit of money into this one. They bought it for 100 million euros. They've invested around 200 million euros into it to only get maybe 250 million out. That'd be the opening bid for OGC Nice. That's not a great investment. Look, he's selling low. He bought high. We do know Ineos has kind of bundled the whole Nice situation. That's been referenced while he was doing the United deal. Look, Nice isn't going well. But apparently there's a TV deal in France that has collapsed, which actually leaves Nice without domestic broadcast revenue for next season, which is not great. The benefit to United and United fans is that there are UEFA multi-club ownership rules, like Nice being in Europe and United being in Europe creates a bunch of issues. From a multi-club ownership perspective. So if he divests Nice, he's gonna get 250 million euros in cash, which could help him fund some investment in United, and we would get rid of this whole multi-club ownership issue as it relates to European and UEFA competition. So it's a win-win for United fans. I guess the only eye-popping issue is his other investment of football club went south, and he's selling for pennies on the dollar.
I mean, I think the really interesting thing from the report is Ratcliffe admitted he doesn't join Nice, which we heard before, but he claimed the club has done better without Ineos' involvement, which I find easy to believe. And by Ineos' involvement, I think he means Sir Jim Ratcliffe's involvement. So we need the cash. He needs the cash if he wants to buy more of the club and just to put more investment into the club because, good Lord, do we need the money. Yeah, the multi-club ownership has some sticking points, but given that, the Abu Dhabi clubs seem to go wrong, they're behind it. I don't see anything kind of pushing back on that. But the one thing that's good is the lack of distractions. But at the same time, if this means he's going to get more involved in Manchester United, that's a red flag because the more he leans in, the worse it is. He needs to just hire smart people, give them room to work, and not be breathing down their neck. This smiling Sir Jim. I haven't seen a lot of this. I haven't seen a lot of Sir Jim smiling in the stands. I'll tell you what, if we win the Europa League, he'll be smiling. But it does say something about his investment acumen in the sports side. We know he's a killer in the petrochemicals, but this is a whole different ballgame, and it hasn't worked out well at Nice, clearly.
Yeah, and look, if he knew he was probably going to make this large ownership purchase of Manchester United, he probably wouldn't have bought Nice in the first place. I think this was him dipping his toe in. Obviously, only 100 million euros. That's chump change for Jim Ratcliffe, putting in over 1.2 billion into Manchester United and even more to date. So at the end of the day, Ineos is now all in on Manchester United. Like, I think this is ultimately a good thing for their focus and the fact that this gets rid of conflict of interest in UEFA's part, but the fact that his involvement went so poorly in the League One side does show you that, they don't have a great track record from my perspective at Manchester United, firing Ashworth, PR disaster, booting Sir Alex Ferguson out of the club, all the different cuts, the PR bungles, interviews, etc. So his management style, I don't think suits world football. And we're gonna have to see. This is a big summer. The Amron appointment was a huge risk. If we end up winning the Europa League, I think it looks to me like Sir Jim's a gambling man at the end of the day because that's really what it was. It was a huge gamble on Ten Hag to make Europe. I felt like we spent the 200 million to make Europe. It made zero sense for them to invest as much as they did last summer. I thought that was an insurance to get Europe. When it became apparent we weren't going to get Champions League football, then they started cutting more, more employees. It seems to me that he's a bad owner. And then Nice would kind of align with that track record. So maybe he's learning something here. But it could be scary that he's all in on Manchester United now.
No, definitely, because his track record, you would hope, if you're in business, you'd make mistakes in one area. You kind of small ball it out with Nice, right? Like learn some things about how to do things, how to not do things. And then, okay, much bigger project, huger scale, like a totally different animal, but it's still a footballing project in Europe in one of the big five leagues. doesn't seem like, on paper he's learned some things. He's hired good people, but it seems like his involvement is the sticking issue. He's a board guy at this point, but he likes to get deeply involved, and I think that's the challenge because he's not a footballing expert. He might be a footballing fan, but he's not an expert at running football clubs. So it's good that INEOS is all in on Manchester United because that is the project. There's plenty of wood to chop at United alone. What a fucking mess we are. But at the same time, if that means more involvement from Sir Jim, that is not a good thing.
But isn't it interesting that he's kind of pulling out pretty quickly here? I'm sure that Nice fans aren't going to speak highly of Sir Jim,
No way.
and he's going to sell out quick. Like if you look at United, when push comes to shove and tough times come, is he going to just kind of try to sell quick, or are him and the Glazers going to try to sell? Like to me, that I don't know, the wheeling and dealing, the fact that he's losing money at Nice, he's probably already losing money at Old Trafford. It looks to me like he's bad at this whole purchasing football clubs because you don't purchase football clubs for short-term gain.
Right.
Purchase football clubs to build them over decades, right? Like the only reason you buy Nice is so that you can get like a return, like 10x return and sell them in 30 or 40 years, similar to what Malcolm Glazer originally did with Manchester United. Also, you probably don't buy bit part players in like tier 2 or 3 league. You know what I'm saying? You actually should be buying better real estate. I think he learned that one. But for me, this kind of speaks of the short-sightedness that maybe Ineos and Sir Jim have, or maybe they just think it's like easier to try to do this job. But look, let us know what you think in the comments below. Do you think selling these helps Ineos from a financial perspective? Do you think it's going to help Manchester United? Are they going to do a better job or not? Or does it not affect your opinion at all? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, support the channel, and we'll see you in the next Manchester United video.